אנחנו ממשיכים את הלימוד שלנו על נבואות אחרית הימים.
And then today we're going to read on in Matthew chapter 24, verses 6 to 8. I want to remind you of the questions that Yeshua's disciples asked him. Yesterday we answered the first question that they asked. When will these things happen? When will it happen that the stones will be thrown down one from the other and Jerusalem be destroyed? And now the second and third question that they also asked, what is the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? So we're going to continue now to read the answer that Yeshua gave them. In chapter 24, Matthew 24, from verses 6 to 8. You will be hearing of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not frightened, for those things must take place, but that is not yet the end. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and in various places there will be famines and earthquakes. And these are only the beginnings of the birth pangs. So here we have the first package of signs of the end times. Before Yeshua comes, one of the things that's going to happen is that you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. He says, don't be frightened. Those wars have been all throughout history. But in the last century, in the 20th century, we had two world wars. The First World War and the Second World War. That each one of them was greater than any other war that had been in history before it. And every war was bigger, and there were more people killed than the previous war. In the Second World War, there were something like 55 million to 60 million people died, citizens, and also soldiers, and among them also 6 million Jews. And that's one of the signs of the end times. This will appear it's not the only sign. We will also talk about, not today, but about the people of Israel who need to return to their land. But it's the first sign. And nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. They could be ethnic groups that can come up against one another, or nations one against the other. You could think of Africa, where the Hutus and the Tutsis, the different tribes who've gone up and to kill and destroy the other tribes in Rwanda, in Burundi, in Eastern Congo, in that corner of Africa. This has happened, and they've slaughtered. It's just one example of different wars. And then he says there'll be famines and diseases and earthquakes. So famines. I remember in the previous century, 1967-70, there was a famine in Nigeria, in a place that's called Bafrite, and there was a war there, and then some people died in the famines and in the wars, and they were also in the world wars. Second World War, there was a famine in the countries that were fighting, and people in Finland, for example, they had to eat bark from trees and mix it with sawdust, with a little bit of the flour they had, and the sawdust, in order to make it a bit more food to eat. There was a famine. And I don't know what will come now. Right now, there's this locust coming, 3 locust swarms coming. They're going around in huge numbers that have not been documented even in the past. We'll see what that will do. So, famine and diseases. Today, we're in the peak of this corona disease, this wave. But in the previous years, we had heard about SARS, and before that, AIDS, and all kinds of diseases that were getting stronger. They're new diseases that they didn't have vaccinations against them or medications against them. But there's also diseases that have become stronger, and they've overcome over the antibiotics. In 2016, in Pennsylvania, there was a woman who had an infection, and the antibiotics that they gave her were the strongest kind, and it didn't help. It wasn't strong enough to overcome this virus. And so this antibiotic is called colistin, and this colistin, they save it for just the cases of especially destructive virus. And this virus came and attacked. It overcame this antibiotics, which means that we really don't have this. The diseases are overcoming all of our solutions that we come up with. And we think we're sitting well on the horse, we're in control, we're winning, and we don't need God. We've got our own medication, but we discovered that that's not the way it really is. And so then Yeshua says, there will be earthquakes. Earthquakes. Look, in the 19th century, there were 8 big earthquakes that were documented. And again, earthquakes have been on all history, but the strength of them and the frequency of them is increasing. So in the 18th century, there were 8 earthquakes. In the 20th century, there were 38 big earthquakes, 6.1 onto 6.5 on the Richter scale. And in the 19th century, 73,000 people died in earthquakes. And in the 20th century, 1,700,000 people died in earthquakes. So we see that these earthquakes are increasing. An additional result of earthquakes are tidal waves, tsunamis. In 2004, in the Indian Ocean, there was a tsunami that killed 280,000 people. And in Japan, in 2011, there was a tsunami that killed 19,000 people. And Japan was an advanced country and not a failing country. They were ready and they are preparing themselves for all kinds of these tragedies. And still they received a really big blow. And even their nuclear reactors were damaged. And so we see then the strength of these natural disasters that is increasing, and it is continuing. And in the end also, we will see the heavens being shaken, stars falling, and meteorites hitting the earth. And that will yet come. It is prophesied in Revelation. So yes, we want to see all these signs and to lift up our heads and know Yeshua will soon come. These are the signs of the end times that He gave us, and we need then to be ready. So may the Lord encourage you, strengthen you in His Holy Spirit and in His Word, and as we continue on our race that is set before us in His grace. Shalom.